Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hey guys, I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes and Stitcher, and for watching our feed on Facebook and on YouTube. You can always, of course, find us at inspiredmedia360.com. My guest today, a really cool guy. You're going to love this interview. He's a well-known radio host who has gone public with a very personal struggle. Bruce St. James, thanks so much for being here.
What a tremendous buildup. I should have you follow me around and introduce me. I like that.
Oh, there's a lot more to your resume. What, race car driver? I read your Facebook page. I trolled you.
I've been trolled.
I think it says race car driver and a guy who loves pretty girls.
Not necessarily in that order.
Not necessarily in that order.
Not in that order.
You are a host on KTAR, a station here in Phoenix. And I want to talk first about how this on-air job came about in somewhat of a surprising way. And I like this part of the story because it goes to show that you never know what can happen in life.
Yeah, I had run radio stations for many years. I was the behind the scenes, other side of the microphone, if you will, and actually I was running Camel Country here in town in 101.5 and got a call from KTAR one day saying, "Would you like to have breakfast?" I'm like, well, I don't normally eat breakfast, but who doesn't like pancakes, right? So I showed up at breakfast, and they said, we have a unique opportunity. We don't have jobs that come up very often on KTAR. You know, a lot of people are celebrating their 30th year there and things like that. And they talked about the 9 to noon shift. And you know, for me, it was one of those, if I don't do this, I am always going to wonder what if. And so I jumped in with both feet. I basically switched careers. I went from running radio stations, managing people, hiring, dealing with sales departments, all the boring stuff, to actually getting to be on the radio and having fun with it.
So it was a little bit of a risk, though, because you can be a great manager, but it's a totally different deal to get on the air.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the same skill set, although my boss will tell you he does appreciate at times that at least I understand some of the challenges that the suits have and can acknowledge what it's like to be on that other side.
Yeah, shout out to your boss, Ryan Hatch. Really cool guy.
Amazing boss.
You know, I really wanted to invite you here today because I saw a Facebook post of yours that I thought was really moving. And it talked about how you have suffered over the years from chronic depression.
Yeah.
You were diagnosed 10 years ago.
Yeah, about 10.
Tell me how that...
Probably had it much longer than that.
Yeah, and I want to start there by talking, Bruce, about what symptoms were you seeing in your life? What was happening in your life that brought you to seeking that diagnosis? You know,
it's this hindsight is 2020. It's always like, you know, if I knew then what I know now, it was obvious. For me, I had a trigger. I had a relationship end, and the end of this relationship, unlike for whatever reason the end of other relationships, just sent me down spiraling into a rabbit hole, for lack of better terms. I have to credit my boss at the time, a guy named Marv, who pulled me into his office, and my boss said, "I need your key." I thought he was firing me, which, by the way, I was fine with at the time. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I hated everything in the world. And he said, "You're going to go get some help, and I'm doing this because I care about you and I love you, but you're not allowed back in this building until you go and talk to somebody."
Wow.
And he said, "It's obvious to the rest of us." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "You're going to go talk to somebody and you're going to figure this out." And sure enough, you know, it became a process where I started to realize a little bit more about why I had those feelings and went from, listen, we all live in this bubble. We think our experience is everyone else's experience. And I started to realize, oh my goodness, okay, so I really do have some issues and I don't see the same things the way other people do. And there's a reason behind that. And so as I started to unravel that and unwrap it, I learned a lot more about myself and also learned some of the different ways that I could deal with depression. I don't think it's one of those things like I'll ever not have it. You know, right. I think it is chemical. I believe that, you know, that it is a part of me, the part of the way my brain is wired, but I've learned different ways, strategies, and hopefully can control it a lot better.
How did you react when your boss pulled you in and said, you need to get help? Were you defensive? Were you angry?
Absolutely. And I think the defensiveness comes from the stigma, because I knew what he was talking about. You know, he's depressed, and you think, well, that means I'm crazy, mentally ill, or something. Oh, no, I'm not. I'll show you. I'm a big tough guy, and I can do anything I want. And I think it is for a lot of folks really difficult to acknowledge and admit that you might have a problem. That getting to that point, that it isn't you're a bad person. It isn't that you should just suck it up and walk it off or rub some dirt on it. You get to the point you realize, I might have a chemical imbalance in my brain. I might have my serotonin levels, or there might be something wrong with me, and it's so weird. And I know you've seen this, and I felt the same way. People would tell me, "Well, when are you going to get over it? What, you're not better yet? Come on. It's been months since whatever happened. You should be over it." And you don't say that to a cancer patient. You don't say that to somebody that's had something else. And they say, once you start realizing, what you're going through has parallels to other injuries, other ailments, other diseases. Well, you're going to get over it when you get over it. And you're going to get over it because you've worked at getting over it. You've done treatment, you've done therapy, whatever it might be. But you can't just snap your fingers and be happy all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, cheer up. Move on.
It's one of the most hurtful things anyone ever said to me, and I had to tell it to a good friend of mine when I wasn't buoyant and I wasn't entertaining on a certain day because I was depressed. And they said, "Well, you're not over this yet? You're not going to get over it?" And I said, at the time, I didn't realize it. I went back to it and go, that's it's a really hurtful thing to say to somebody. No, I wasn't over it at the time. And you drove me a little deeper into the hole when you said that.
Now, on my show, I always want to ask questions that probe a little deeper. But if I'm asking something that's uncomfortable, please just tell me.
I'm pretty transparent.
How did your depression manifest? I mean, what was happening in your life? Like, you'd go to work, then you'd go home, you'd close the window, sit in the dark. Were you suicidal?
I had thoughts of suicide at times, and for me, again, not to be melodramatic, I wasn't suicidal as in, gee, I'm going to stare at a bottle of pills or I'm going to hold a gun in my hand. My suicidal thoughts had less to do with harming myself and more to do with not caring what happened. That it wasn't I was going to go out and purposely do something, but I certainly wasn't going to stop it from happening. I certainly wasn't going to do anything to preserve myself.
Yeah.
That today was as good a day as any to die. It's like, why wear your seatbelt? Why put a helmet on the motorcycle? Who cares? I just didn't care what happened to me. I had no sense of self-preservation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Ate poorly, didn't sleep.
You gained a lot of weight, right?
I gained a ton of weight. Yeah. Absolutely. I did self-destructive things within my world of being self-destructive. Didn't get to the point where I literally thought I was going to do something to kill myself. But, again, certainly didn't do things that a healthy, sane, thinking person would say, this is in your long-term interest. I didn't care about long-term. Long-term for me was 4:00 that day.
Yeah, and you're just existing day to day. And it always breaks my heart. This is why I like to cover this subject, and I so appreciate you coming and talking about this. I've interviewed so many veterans about this, where you just feel this dull sense of just going day to day.
Yeah.
You can't even think of real, true happiness or joy.
Well, and I struggle, by the way. I have part of my persona, I will acknowledge. I mean, I think I'm relatively outgoing.
You're very outgoing.
A little bubbly at times, maybe too much at times. But I still I suffer from something, dysthemic disorder. I see the world not through rose-colored glasses. I see the world through decidedly kind of dark-tinted glasses. I am a pre-wired cynic, and it's not just an act. I still have difficulty finding real joy at times. There's no doubt about it, and that is that can make me sad. It can make me sadder at certain times when I can't find joy. When I could literally sit there and go, nothing makes me happy right now. And that's tough.
Talk to me about sort of the transformative period in your life after your boss brought you in and said, look, you got to get a grip.
Yeah.
And which is a pretty profound thing.
Well, it's great to have friends like that.
Absolutely.
I'm very lucky to have him in my life.
So once you started seeking help, tell me about that process and when it finally occurred to you that something real was happening, more than just sadness from a breakup.
Right. More than just, I got the blues. I went and started with therapy because I was really hesitant to the idea of taking pills. I'd always heard about that and thought about that. I was really against that. So I started going to therapy. I was going more than once a week. Then got into a rhythm of once a week, sitting down with somebody. I found somebody I was very comfortable with to talk with, And I got to tell you, I mean, it probably took 6 months to a year. I fought her, my therapist, on the process. I wanted to understand everything that was going on with this. What is in this for you? You know, like what is your, you know?
That's
like,
the cynic.
Like I really had to get to the point where I felt even comfortable enough to get to what my problems were and my innermost things. But once I did, the therapy really started to work. Now I will tell you, I got to a point where I was like, I think we've done all we can when it comes to therapy, and I'm still not there. And I did then go, with her permission and with her supervision, I went and got on antidepressants. And so I've done that at 2 different times in my life. And I at least got to the point where I realized that I could raise my hand and say, we've gotten to the point now where I need medicine. Like I'm past the point where just talking it out's going to fix it. And I don't like that. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it. I don't like that I have to take a pill. I use the term, I don't want to wake up in the morning thinking I need to take a pill to be a normal person today. I think that makes me sound broken. And so I really struggled with that for a long time. I've gotten much more comfortable with it. I've gotten much more comfortable with it, but boy, that was a fight for a long time.
What was the main thing that you think was the most beneficial for you from the therapy?
I think therapy really worked for me when I started to realize I wasn't alone. As special and unique as I think I am, Carey. You know, the things you're going through, we can point to in a book. Here's what stage you're at. Here are all the things you're going through they were relatively typical when it comes to depression and the way that it manifests itself in people. And so once I started to understand that I was following a pattern and that there was a accepted plans on how to fix that. You know, we can do things to change this trajectory. If we don't do anything, here's where it goes.
Yeah.
It made it much easier for me when I stopped feeling like I was the only person in the world going through this.
Did the therapist or any of your close friends who you were talking to about this, did they give you any advice in terms of things that when you started to think a little deeper, were there any sort of go-tos, you know, like reach out, talk
like
to someone,
mantras,
just anything that, you know, that might help someone who's listening that they can really turn to and say, okay, I remember Bruce saying this.
Yeah. Well, and I want to qualify what I'm about to say. It is not a one size fits all.
Absolutely.
Different people find different relief from a variety of different factors.
Yeah.
So I can only speak about my journey, acknowledging that other people's might be very different. For me, when I feel, the analogy I've always used is water rising. That the depression for me is usually somewhere between my ankle and my knee. And when it starts getting near my neck, you know, and I realize I'm about to go underwater, that's when I need to reach out and talk to somebody. And for me, it was, can I make an appointment? I need to come in. We need to start down this, and you need to help me where I'm at, understand where I'm at, and I need an outlet. And that for me has been helpful. And so, you know, I have it on the speed dial. She's on my favorites, and I can call my therapist and I can make an appointment when I feel that water level rising. Because there were times, Carey, that I felt like I was 6 feet underwater.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And that's a scary place to be.
The world was in slow motion. Yeah. I felt restricted by everything. And it is so dark and feels so lonely. And so I've learned, and hopefully I've gotten to the point that before I get that bad, I recognize it when the water level's rising. Hold on, I kind of feel something. Okay. I've started to pick up on those clues.
So I want to ask you how it is that you came to the point where you felt comfortable speaking so publicly about this, because that is, you've come a long way from feeling so ashamed about it to now actually talking about it and having public discourse about it.
I talk about it on the radio as well.
Yeah, and I want to share part of your Facebook post. So you write here, as someone who has battled depression for years, I know firsthand how difficult a struggle it is. In my experience, therapy, medicine, and time have worked wonders in different degrees at different moments. So you posted this.
Yeah.
And then someone posted, and I won't say the name because this is from your private page, someone posted a response that I thought was this really stood out to me. He wrote, "Thank you so much for sharing this. The last 2 days, I've awakened to tears knowing that this issue is affecting someone close to me. Tonight, I will cry tears of joy knowing that I'm not alone." And then he hashtagged tomorrow brings hope.
Yeah.
That's significant.
And it is heartwarming, needless to say. And I don't think of myself as a savior in any way, shape, or form.
But you are taking a moment where you realize you have a public platform.
Yeah.
And you are sharing your personal journey. And I mean, I know you're not trying to take credit for that, but I do think, Bruce, that that's a very brave thing you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think of it as a bit of a responsibility. And I can tell you, and I hope this doesn't sound too silly, I remember seeing Terry Bradshaw, the Steelers championship Super Bowl winning quarterback, talk about being depressed and battling depression. Mm-hmm. And, the more I saw people stand up and raise their hand and say, this has affected me, I thought, destigmatizing depression, mental illness, bipolar, any of these things, the more we can do to destigmatize it, the more people will feel comfortable coming forward and getting the help that they need. You don't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like that. Tomorrow doesn't have to be worse than today. And it takes more of us speaking about it where folks go, I would have never thought you were depressed, because I get that a lot from people.
Yeah. And what is life like for you today?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not
You're
bad
racing
at all.
cars. You're the captain of your friend's
I have
ship,
a boat captain's
yacht, or
license.
What's going on
I
with
get
that?
to take the boat out. Which is pretty darn cool. I get to race cars. I'm on the radio. Listen, there are certain things in my life that I've either missed out on or will miss out on, and I'm not going to necessarily just blame depression for all of that. But I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The journey has brought me to this spot, and I'm comfortable with that.
Before we go, I do want to mention, because I thought that this was really important, you volunteer at a children's charity, Colton Cowell Foundation.
Yeah.
And I love that you do that. But you wrote to me that actually helped you with your depression. I think that is really important, because volunteerism and turning the lens away from ourselves can really help.
It is probably one of the most rewarding things that I've done is volunteering, working with it. Colton Cowell Foundation works with sick and dying children. Being around them, their families, bringing them joy, really brought me some perspective in my own life and gave me a wonderful outlet to help other people. And I am very, very lucky. You want to find more information about it, you can text the word CAVE to 411-923. Nice little plug I got in there.
Or go to coltoncowellfoundation.org. I love the selfies of you and the kids.
I call them Belfies, bat selfies, because it's a bat cave. And so I take selfies with all the kids at the end of the night, and I just love it.
All right, Bruce, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
Say
having
hi
me.
to your beautiful co-host, Pamela.
Yes, the talent on the show. I'm aware of my role in life.
You guys have a busy job ahead of you covering the new administration.
I think we're going to run out of things to talk about.
Good luck with that, buddy. I'll see you again soon, I hope. And thanks to all of you for listening and for watching Carey Pena Reports. We focus on interviews with people who have highly inspirational stories to share, just like Bruce. And soon, by the way, this podcast will be coming to TV, so stay tuned for details on that. Look at Bruce's surprise face over there.
I would have worn something
Oh,
nicer.
that's a tease. You can always find us online at inspiredmedia360.com. And if you are watching this on YouTube, click or tap on your screen to subscribe to our channel or to watch the next video. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.